Hey everybody, Scott Sillari here with RealSynch, and welcome back to another episode of my vendor interviews or my partner interviews. And today I have one of our favorite clients, Mr. Chris Watters from Watters International Realty, runs a large real estate office in Austin, Texas, and a couple other ancillary markets within Texas, and also runs a large franchise organization throughout the country. Chris Watters, thanks for being on, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So we just got past the election. The country's a little frazzled depending on what side you're on, but that's
Yeah.
okay. Life is going to continue. The real estate market will continue. Technology in real estate is going to continue. I wanted to talk about that today. What you're seeing, what's happening right now, what you anticipate through the rest of the year and into next year. So let's just start off with, what you're seeing as far as adjustments within the real estate market, and then we'll tie that into technology.
Well, I'd say half the people out there are excited about the future and the other half aren't. So,
Indeed.
ultimately, for anybody watching this that's in the real estate industry, they know what directly impacts us is transaction count. So, the more transactions that happen, the more commission dollars we get. As home prices go up, obviously that helps us. But really transaction count is really how we make our money in the industry. And transaction count in the United States is at a 30-year low. It hasn't been this low since 1994 when there were 60 million less people in the United States. And so this has probably been, the last, 2 years have probably been some of the most challenging years in the real estate industry for quite some time. And a lot of the forecasts from, a lot of the institutions out there are that we'll see transaction count go up next year. I think transaction count is going to finish somewhere in the low 4 million range. And a lot of people are expecting that to go up on average 10 to 15% next year. So a couple 100,000 additional transactions. On the interest rate front, the Mortgage Bankers Association, Case-Shiller, CoreLogic, NAR, all these companies that put together a lot of data on forecasts are projecting interest rates will probably, end up a year from now. So Q4 of 2025,
Yeah.
interest rates will probably end up somewhere in the mid fives. And so, that should help improve some of the challenges we're having as agents in the market, because there's a lot of friction right now. Like sellers, don't want to sell for less than a certain amount, but yet the buyers can't afford it because the payments are so expensive. And so this friction is what's caused transaction count to just go down, I mean, significantly. Not to mention, like, half the United States, half the property owners have a rate that's like super, super low. And so that segment of the market that are move-up buyers, like, who wants to sell and move up to a more expensive house when your mortgage is going to more than double, right?
Yeah.
So I think ultimately next year will be a better year because transaction count's going to go up some. I think some of the friction will get improved because of the affordability issues related to interest rates and sellers not wanting to reduce their price to probably what is market value. And so, I think when we look back probably a year from now, we'll probably recognize the months of October or maybe potentially November of 2024 this year. I think we'll look back from now and recognize this as the bottom. Like, this fourth quarter of 2024, I think will be recognized as like the bottom of the real estate industry from a transaction count perspective. And so from here moving forward, I mean, the trajectory, should look pretty good in the preceding years. It's not going to be like we're going to have some radical growth or exponential growth like we experienced from a transaction count perspective and pricing perspective like we did during COVID. But we are going to be going back up on the incline, albeit it will be more gradual than what we're used that we compared to what we were, what we experienced during COVID.
Yeah. So let's back up a little bit there as far as what, if there's realtors watching, which I anticipate there are right now, what would you recommend they're doing right now, especially if their transactions are down a little bit and they got a little more time in their hands to put
Yeah.
themselves in an advantageous position to maximize the market, coming back a little bit next year, especially in the first 6 months of the year.
Yeah, so I mean, the key investment or the key things you need to be doing, in my opinion, is, cutting your expenses on the operational side. And so, for example, if you're doing 40% less transactions, which is how much, we're down across the US, like we're down 30 to 40% from a transaction count perspective from the peak. If you're experiencing that lull in your business, we've got to cut expenses. And so, you need to think carefully about all of your fixed expenses, which ones are driving return on investment, and are you fully able to even leverage some of the people on your team? Like, for example, if you're closing a lot less deals, like, do you need two transaction coordinators or do you only need one? Do you need two photographers or do you only need one? Um, and so, if you're in a 4,000 square foot office and yet, your team is, you're not at a place where you're expecting to like double your business in the next 12 months. Well, you may want to consider subleasing out some of it. Get like a lender or a homeowner's insurance company, or maybe a contractor, somebody you do work with, get them to, help cover some of your office expense. And then, where we are investing money, where we're like, looking to spend money, is we're spending money on being more prospecting based or sales development based. So, if anybody on here has read the book Shift or The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, something they talk about in the book is, in a buyer's market, you need to be prospecting based and marketing enhanced. In a market that's when it's a seller's market, you need to be marketing based and prospecting enhanced. And so, ultimately what I'm getting at here is, one of the big expenses for anybody building a real estate team or brokerage or trying to scale up and sell a lot of homes, the thing you have to be really mindful of is, how much money are you spending to acquire a customer? And so when there's a lot of friction in the market, like right now, and transaction volume is really low, you can't go out there and spend a fortune on lead generation, because, your conversion rates through the customer journey, they fall as, you're doing deals, because people don't get approved for the mortgage, or you can't get the buyer and seller to agree on pricing. There's just all these little holes in the bucket from a conversion perspective that are external, that are very hard to control, and they're all macroeconomic driven. And, we're not in, like, our business is not recession proof. It is what it is. When there's friction in the market, affordability is an issue, like, the real estate market gets hit. So, we're investing in sales development reps and inside salespeople. So we do a better job on the lead generation side. And then, the other thing we're investing is in technology. Like, we want to make sure we are, like, I used to, prior to RealSync, I used to pay a virtual assistant in the Philippines. And like, my mindset was like, oh, a VA, super cheap. It's like $800 a month. Well, I was paying a VA to input leads from this system into my CRM, right? That was their full-time job, was like constantly inputting data from one system into another. And I was paying $800 a month for it. And then, obviously, we switched to RealSync, and now I pay, obviously I have a premium account because I have, a pretty big business. And so we're paying $250 a month now.
Yeah.
And so I've got all my leads being piped into one system. And so my cost went from $800 paying a VA to just do this down to $250. And so that was an investment in tech that like yielded a positive ROI. Another issue I was having previously was, we were running Zaps and the Zaps were breaking. And then we would have leads in this system and nobody called them for days and days. And so our speed to lead was horrible. I don't have to tell people how bad that is. And so our conversion rates dropped, and it caused our client acquisition costs to go up. And so, we weren't optimizing our lead generation, the money we were investing in lead generation. So the big investments for us are all things related to efficiency, and investing in and more the sales development side of like generating leads versus spending a lot of money in advertising. Like, we're cutting back our advertising spend, and really trying to focus on getting our client acquisition costs down, in addition to driving down fixed expenses that don't produce income.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love it. It's like looking internal a little bit. When you're in a market like this, you got to look internal, figure out ways to be efficient, figure out ways to cut costs, figure out ways to improve your processes, train people up, get better on the phones, right? Double down on your salespeople. When in a good market, it's easy to just get on the phone. Everyone wants to do something. You're not quite as dialed in on your sales training. But in a market, like this, you have to be very dialed in and understand what you're talking about because you are dealing with all that friction, those rebuttals on phone calls when people are looking to do something. So as you look at the landscape going into next year, Chris, what do you foresee with technology improvements? Everyone's talking about like AI and how it fits into your business. Are you guys using any of that? Like what things are you anticipating to add into your stack, if I were to say that word, tech stack for next year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're hoping that with the new edition of RealSync and having all the business intelligence and performance dashboards, we're going to know faster which agents are doing the best from a conversion perspective. If you look at an NFL team, right? If you look at an NFL team, they cut guys fast. It's like either you're catching the ball and scoring touchdowns or you're not, right? And they only throw the ball to the guy that's catching the ball and scoring touchdowns. Like it's not like elementary school or middle school or high school where they like try to equally distribute the ball to everybody. And you're like, hey, let's give everybody an opportunity. No, when you run a real estate team and you spend money on advertising, you need to put your money in the players that are going to convert and generate closed commission dollars. And so, one of the things I'm excited about with you guys as the are all the reporting dashboards and data analytics to help us understand which agents are making the most calls, which ones, having the most conversations, which ones can creating the most appointments, who has the highest conversion rate face to face, what's our ROI. I'm super excited about the integration y'all are doing for us between QuickBooks, so we can actually track what the client acquisition cost is based off lead source. So I'm excited about that coming down the pipe. That's obviously something we're investing in. And so, that's not really AI based, but it's, very technology based.
Yeah.
Um, give, I'm giving you a plug here, Scott.
No, I
And
appreciate it.
then,
We're excited about it too. Business
the,
intelligence key to making the right decisions in your business, pull the right levers, right?
yeah. So on the AI front, I mean, we're using like, Jasper. It's great for creating, content from a marketing perspective for like property descriptions and things like that. So that's one way, we're using AI. Um, we've tested a lot of these different AI products that help you serve ads to the right people. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's dialed in well enough yet on the AI side as it relates to like advertising. I will admit one thing we're noticing is like, the social media companies, they are getting better at serving ads to audiences. Like when I first started running ads on like Facebook back in 2010 and 2011, 2012, you could generate so many leads for like pennies, but the conversion rates were just like dreadful. Like the
Yeah.
conversion rate was god awful. And so it seems like they are, the AI they've built is doing better at serving our ads to the right audience. So we don't waste so much time talking to people that really have no interest in buying or selling. So I am excited on the AI front, but it's like I don't really have any control over that. It's just the social media companies are implementing it and it's working really well. Getting ads on the social media side to the right people. Um, yeah, so I'd say those are like the two things we're excited about on the technology front is, getting really great, really quick feedback loops about how the agents are performing. Like I
Hmm.
used to give leads to agents and like, you give them leads and they've got to prospect them and then you got to get the deal under contract and escrow period and it's a long conversion cycle, right? And so you don't know how good an agent's going to be for like months and months and months. And so, if I can have updates as to how many calls they're making, how many of those people are converting into appointments. I know faster, like who should stay on the team and who should not be on the team, and I'll know where to invest my resources, who to give the leads to. And for anybody that's read the book Top Grading for Sales, I can top grade for sales exponentially faster with that kind of information. So anyways, yeah, those are the things I'm excited about from a tech perspective.
Awesome. I love it. So if you had to give some advice to someone that's uh small team, medium-sized team, they're they're just fighting to get through this year and they're looking to scale up next year. Like what are some of the things that from a business owner standpoint, and I know we've talked about a lot today, but like what are some of the pieces of advice you would give them?
Um, I mean, I already mentioned one, like the cost cutting measures.
Hmm.
Like either you need to invest in something that's going to help you save money. So like it needs, if you're going to invest in tech, make sure it saves you money. Or it generates return on investment. And then, review your fixed expenses like, do you have any excess, on the fixed expense side? Um, so anyways, cost cutting would be one of them. The second thing is, be use a little bit more of a grassroots approach from a business development perspective. So instead of going out and spending a ton of money on leads, like go create your own leads using like, for example, sales development reps, SDRs or inside sales agents. And there's a number of ways you can leverage ISAs and sales development reps. There's a great book out there that was written by the woman that built the sales development department for Salesforce.com. And Salesforce is this like multi-billion dollar company. And, when she built out that department for Salesforce, they didn't have any money. They were a startup. And so they had to be really cheap about it. And so they hired, her name is Mary Lou Tyler. You can look her book up on Amazon, Mary Lou Tyler.
It's
And
predictable revenue.
yeah, predictable revenue.
Yep.
And so she talks about how they leveraged SDRs to generate leads. And then those leads, they handed off to the ISAs for the ISAs to call and book the appointment. And it was incredibly effective. And nobody knew Salesforce back then. I mean, they were nobody, right? It was like a business being operated out of a garage. So, anyways, I think I would be for anybody watching this that wants to scale up and be mindful of client acquisition cost. I think scaling up through SDRs and ISAs is like a must, to maintain profitability and, use some of those profits to invest in growth. What else? What other key things?
What else would you be doing communication wise if you're like whether it's a cold list of buyers or sellers or a warm list, like what else would you be doing other than making phone calls?
I mean, I'm sure everybody watching this knows like have, drip email sequences set up. Speaking of AI, some of these CRMs have like these lead scores built in that are kind of AI based off their activity online. So that can kind of help you sort your database, know who to be calling. Those lead scores are helpful. Uh, I'm sorry, Scott, what was the original question? I'm not sure if I'm
Like what
answering.
media, what other media, like would you be sending texts as well, like text campaign, email campaign
Oh
type
yeah, yeah,
stuff?
yeah. I mean, we're like, we'll call somebody and they won't answer. We'll call them again. Sometimes we call it the double tap. Sometimes the double tap works. You call them twice in a row, they'll
Yep.
answer. And then right after the double tap, we're sending them a text message, and and then we're following up with them again the next day with a call and a text. So really intense outreach in the first 3 days once the lead's registered, like really intense, multiple texts, multiple emails, multiple phone calls. And so the first 3 days you gotta hit it hard.
Yeah. Love it. All right, man. I mean, any additional parting wisdom that you have with the outlook on 2025?
Um, I mean, I'm gonna give myself a plug here. I wrote a book a couple years ago called The $1 Million Real Estate Team. And so I documented my journey of scaling a team from, working on a laptop on a couch to, us getting to, you know, that like selling thousands and thousands of homes and, being in 18 markets. And so, um, actually in the book, I documented just this key time period for me between 2010 and 2013. So between 2010 and 2013, I went from zero to netting $1 million in a single year. And so I documented in the book kind of that journey and what the unique phases of the growth curve are. So I guess my like final words of wisdom, if you will, for anybody watching this is like, you got to do things in the right order. And so like, if you're in what I call the early climb, like, man, you got to be real mindful of being very sales prospecting based versus like investing a lot of money in lead generation.
Yeah.
Um, and so anyways, I talk about all the different impact zones of the real estate business. If you're looking to build like a big enterprise and you're looking to build a business that'll run without you. In the book, kind of the final phase of the growth curve, I call it the great escape. And that's when you get, north of a certain revenue number. Um, that's when you can truly exit. And so, for anybody that's looking to build a business that they can have leadership in place that runs it, it's a great book. And Scott, I'll tell you what, man, I'll just hook people up. If anybody on here that's watching this want it for free, I'll let them get a copy for free.
Nice. So there'll be a link in the email here below where you can go put your info in and get a copy for free.
Yeah, there's
I
the
love
only
it.
thing, I don't know where on earth everybody on this call is located. I did this once and somebody was like I'm not even kidding you, somebody was in
You got to pay
Greece.
shipping. You got to pay your shipping if you're overseas,
They- Yeah,
at least.
so yeah, I had to pay $50 to ship it to Greece. I had a guy in South Africa, somebody in Guam, somebody in Europe. Anyways, so I'll tell you guys what, I'll send you a link for a landing page that I give to my friends and they can order the book on there for free. It's also on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. But I'll send you a link that I give to friends that gives them the book for free. And then they just need to pay, whatever shipping. It's like probably a couple bucks for shipping, right?
Yeah, it'd be
So
like 2 to 8,
4 or 5
depending
bucks.
on where you are in the country or if you're
Yeah.
out of country or whatever. Totally. That's an amazing deal. And I think, you nailed it on the head, man. The other thing you need to be doing is educating yourself on what to do in a market like this and reading up and continuing to improve your processes, like Chris mentioned. So get his book so you can know exactly what you need to be doing, where your business is at as you're scaling up, so you can pull the right levers in 2025. Chris, I appreciate you being on the call, man, and giving us your wisdom. You're a rock star. Do keep it up.
Thanks, Scott.